logic editor in Incari allows us to create interactivity and dynamic logic in a visual way, without writing a single line of code. First, let's right-click up here as we did earlier to enable it. Now we are going to need some space to see our logic. If you have a single HD or lower screen, then you'll probably need to rearrange the modules to make space. But if, like me, you do have a second screen, then separate the logic editor and put it on a screen of its own. You will now see a large grid or graph with a small box on it labelled onInitialize. This is a node. A node is a small box like this, which has a series of inputs and outputs. Each node can be thought of as being like a machine, which performs a specific function. Like a machine, we often need both a way to turn it on, or trigger it, and a way to pass in something which the machine needs to perform its function. We connect nodes using two types of connections, which can be thought of as being like wires or cables. On one hand, we have the connections which trigger the execution of nodes, which we refer to as pulses, and are characterized as a thick white line connecting nodes together. And on the other hand, we have the data connections, and these are thinner in weight and of different colors depending on the type of data that they are transporting. Nodes themselves have a number of icons on their left and right sides, referred to as sockets. Much like sockets or ports of an electronic device, these are where we plug our connections into. On the left, we have the input sockets, and on the right, we have the output sockets. The white triangular icons here show that these are pulse sockets, while the square coloured icons represent data sockets. So with that information in mind, let's look at this node here in the project graph. Here you will see that this node only has one socket, which is a white triangle denoting a pulse, and it's on the right side, meaning that it is an output. This shows that this node in particular is a special type of node called an event listener. This is the only type of node which has an output pulse and no input pulse. The reason it is called an event listener is because it is listening for an event to take place. In this case, it is listening for the project to be initialized. Once the project is initialized, this output pulse will be fired. At the moment, we have no other nodes, so we won't see anything. If we go over to the left panel here, we are currently on the Explorer tab, which lists the content of this graph. If we click the one below it, we will see our toolbox. This lists all the available nodes in Incari. You can see that each category of node has a different icon next to it. Here is the event category, which has a lightning bolt, like the one on the onInitialize event here. The node we are going to look at is under Development Console. This node outputs some information to the console module that we opened earlier. It is used extensively for debugging and testing purposes. So let's drag and drop that into our graph now. If we click on the console node, we will see that this, like objects, has a set of attributes. The one I want to highlight in this case is the value attribute, which says Hello World. This means that the value of this attribute should be what we see in the console once this node is executed. And to execute it, we can simply left click and drag from the output pulse socket of the event node to the input pulse socket of the console node. Now when we go back to our main window and press the play icon to start the simulation, we should see a message in the console saying Hello World. Please bear in mind, especially if you have little or no experience with programming of any kind, that if any of these terms and concepts seem overwhelming, it will become much clearer as we start seeing nodes used in context. All of the terminology is of secondary importance. The thing that matters is seeing how nodes function and interact with one another, which is what we will be doing in our next lesson, when we start building this foundational introduction and gradually introduce more nodes and complexity.